So I would happily grow quickly again. I would happily buy at that scale, but it's outsourced, you know? Auction, direct to vendor, deal sources, my legals, they can get done. You know, the build will get done by my guy Craig. You know, it's everyone takes a chunk of my profit,
yes,
but I get a chunk of my life back. I think people come to me, right, when they want to learn how to raise finance, or they're one of my mentees, and I say, so you know part of me and what I do is you're going to be on social media, and they say, bit of whinging, oh, I don't really want to, I don't like this, I don't like that.
Can I do it without being on camera?
Yes. I say, yeah, okay, go for it. And in a year when you raise 10 quid from your auntie, let me know how you bought with that. You know, I just say to people, look, like, I don't really care what you don't like.
And it reminds me of this thing about years ago, it was a case of it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think now it's more a case of who already knows you.
Like
knows of
already
you.
knows you. Yeah.
So if your name has already been, is in someone's awareness, that makes it much easier to open a door somewhere.
Mm-hmm. You know, if you have a family who are rich, if you've got a little black book with all the rich people in, stay off social, don't bother. But like most people, you don't, and you need to raise money and awareness and want people to bring you deals. And you know, separately from property, if you have a food business, if you have a business where you sell tripods, you sell sofas, how are any of us going to know you do that and see your products and understand your business and fall in love with your business without your brand?
Yes.
So I think it's a must-have in almost every business.
Hey, Tej, I get to speak to a lot of people about investing in property, and I have certain rules. You seem to have broken every one of my rules in my rule book. Getting started in property. So 15 properties in less than a year, in 9 months, and 200 miles away from where you live. How on earth did you get that to work?
You know what? I got it to work, but it was very, very tricky. I got into a lot of fights with builders and solicitors and brokers and everyone in between, and it was a headache. And I broke down like halfway through it. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason you have these rules, right? And it's to prevent what happened to me happening to people. Now, obviously, I managed to persevere. You know, I made it through. I'm incredibly grateful for the experience, but it was a lot. And I really don't advise people to do the same.
Mm. And what was the reason? What was the logic behind kind of doing that in the first place? Was it a case I'll just spend a year, get done, and then that's it, I'll move on to the next thing? Or
that is kind of my attitude, to be fair, to a lot of things. I think it was, you know, I have friends who say, Tej, remember when you said you wanted, you know, just one property, like in 6 months and you'll be happy? And I was like, yeah, I kind of remember that. I think I'd set really loose goals. That was my first issue, actually. I didn't have proper goals that were set and that I could kind of achieve and know I could achieve. They weren't smart goals, anything. It's just like, yeah, I got properties. I then bought one, and I think as I was doing my deal analysis, I kept seeing, okay, you know, 300 quid, 400 quid a month, kind of net profit from each buy-to-let. I thought, that's cool. But then I was like, hold on, I need quite a few of them to get to a number. And then, you know, the brand started taking off, the podcast started taking off. I was kind of buying property. I was raising money to buy them. You know, I only started with £30,000 of my own money. Since then, I put nothing in. And then it kind of kept happening. And then, you know, if there's a great deal, you know, coming towards you, are you going to swerve? I'm like, here, come to daddy. So, and then same with the money. And so it almost just momentumed into this snowball of direct to vendor, auction, agent deals that kept coming. The money kept coming. And I said, this is going to get a bit mad. It's going to be a bit crazy, but why not? What's the worst that can happen?
So what were you doing previously? What got you into property first? Was there a kind of shift or something that happened, or was it a deliberate...
I studied biochemistry at university.
Okay.
Yep. So I wasn't going to be a doctor. Everyone's like, oh, you're brown, you're going to be a doctor. I'm like, no, I wasn't. I love science.
That's good enough for some aunties.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm sure my auntie says I'm a property doctor. I was never going to work in a lab, but I love science. I love the analytical nature, and the evidence-seeking nature, which, you know, we spoke about. And I had some jobs in medical marketing. And by the way, you know, they say get a degree, right? You'll get a job. I think I had 42 interviews, and I had a good degree with a good grade from King's College London. So, you know, I was a good candidate to get a job. Got fired from my second job. Got a big pay rise because I moved jobs and got fired. And they basically said, Tej, you're not performing at what you kind of said you were going to do. And such, I felt relieved. I was like, okay, like,
right.
Yeah, see you later, right? A month's pay, go home, okay, cool. Yeah. Until I saw my mother, of course, with the silence was deafening from an Indian mother. And I then said, I want to get out what I put into something, because the job was like working till 6, but we get paid till 5. It was putting all this time in, but I get the same salary. I was like, that doesn't make sense. So my friend had a recruitment business. He said, look, start one up. It's easy, you know, minimal cost. So I did.
Okay.
Didn't enjoy it. Did it for 4 years, golden handcuffs.
Right.
Doubling my profit, doubling my turnover every year. Had an employee or two at some point. I just did not enjoy it. But it was making money. So you're kind of like, what do I do? And then I changed my mind and said, right, I've now got out what I've put into it.
Yes.
I now want to make money when I sleep, and I want something that's passive, and I want an asset, because the business wasn't an asset necessarily.
What was the logical link into property then? So how did you arrive at property rather than crypto or something else?
You know what? I did buy some Bitcoin ages ago. Not enough, but you know, I did buy ages ago. I think culturally in England, property is such a thing. Like when my wife tells people at her work like what I do, they're always like property, like at a dinner table, right? Property is just an Englishman and his castle, right? All that kind of crap. So I think it's well understood. It's got a clearly defined market. It's not like investing in US corn stocks. Like it's a lot more stable. I think one of the things at the time was you could feel it and touch it. So I kind of felt more like, okay, if I'm putting, you know, money in, it's there. And I don't know, I didn't have anyone in the family who did property. Right. I was never encouraged towards it or anything, but it just made sense. Then I heard some podcasts and I kind of read some books, and then I thought, okay, this seems a little bit too easy, but the principle, the outcome, I am interested in that. It just makes sense as an asset, right?
And the 200 miles away, how did that come about then? Why not on your doorstep? So would be the kind of, I guess, sensible thing to do.
Yes, me and sensible, you know, we're not really related. I lived in West London. I'm from Southall, old tight Southall, and I couldn't invest there. The house prices were and are 3, 4, 5 plus.
Yeah, you're not going to get the return.
I'm not getting the return. On a flip, I potentially would.
Yes,
but I also looked at that and said, I think I had 90 grand, 100 grand like retained profit from the recruitment business, which I only used 30 grand of it. But I saw that and thought, not really enough, you know. And I think, you know what, genuinely, I think I was worried about investing in a bigger deal, putting more money in, having more to lose, having more to risk. And so I wanted to start with small, cheap, little, minimal outlay, minimal kind of issues, which, you know, a lot of a little can make a lot, I've learned over time. So, you know, I found the nearest place to me that had cheap house prices. You know, I looked up north, which for various reasons, I think investing up north is still better than where I invest. Not only because Wales has a different government and they're a bit more, what's the word, socialist?
Less landlord friendly.
Yes.
Even less landlord friendly.
Even less, but they don't do anything to help their own people anyway, but they punish those who do. So anywho, I looked up north, but it was like 3 or 4 hours. And so I'm just, life's short. You know, like even Birmingham's a bit of a drive.
Hey, but Birmingham's the centre of the world, man. You want to make an effort to get to Birmingham.
No, I do love Birmingham, to be fair. I did look at Birmingham, but every up and from London is investing in Birmingham. It's just too much. I still think it, for certain types of strategies, I think it's saturated. And and with 200 miles, I thought, okay, I'll get a good builder. Lol, what a dream that was. I won't have to travel that much. Again, what a dream. And, you know, sometimes I don't think about, you know, 10 steps ahead, because I'm like, I could sit here thinking, what about step 7, 8, 9, 10?
Yes.
And I appreciate we could argue that I should do that, but also I'm like, let me just get cracking, get into it, and
work it out as it go along.
Work out as it go along.
Yeah. Okay. And so tell me about the first house then, in terms of what was it about that one that appealed? What maybe were some of the challenges you faced in making the decision that this is the one?
Yeah, good question. So it was a property that was listed for, what was the price now? It was £60,000.
Okay.
And it was, it's for £50,000. It was with a deal sourcer who I'd met at networking events and has now disappeared, obviously. I then didn't have my innate hatred for deal sourcers. I was quite friendly and amicable with them at this point. the deal, it stacked really well. And what I liked about it was timing, the fact that it was on my plate at this time. Secondly, the refurb was not big at all. It was I think it ended up being $6,500. It was supposed to be about 5. It was just Magnolia.
It tied you up kind of thing.
Yeah, it was nothing major. So I thought, okay. And what, your question about what made it really difficult, or how did I know it was the right one? One of the things that tripped me up then, and actually still trips me up, you might be the same. I think this is too good. I think, why is it listed at 50 when it's worth 80? And it's now worth 120, which is crazy. But I just think, like, why? I always wonder, why have they listed it so low? Why is it not sold? Why hasn't Saj bought it? Why isn't, that tripped me up the most. And at some point, you do all your analysis, you do all your data, you speak to everyone, you speak to every agent, you speak to people in your network, and it is a deal. I think every deal I've bought since, I've always been like, why is it so good? And then you do the refinance, get your money back, and you're like, what? How? Like, how does it make sense? So that's how I made the decision. It was exhaustive. I had to ask everyone, and then everyone to ask everyone, and then get all the data in the world. And it turned out the deal was exactly how this happened, exactly as the sources said it would be.
Yes.
Very rare.
And then you kind of continued that momentum. And the thing that I guess stops a lot of people from continuing when they get the bug and the taste for it, and you can say, this actually works, I can do this, is the ability to continuously fund those purchases. So how have you managed to do that? Because you only started with a small amount of cash from the business.
Yeah, so put 30 grand in the first deal. The rest was from an investor, family member, so I don't really call them an investor as such.
Did you give them a return?
Yes.
It wasn't an interest-free loan?
No, it was a very small...
It was an investor.
Yeah. It was an investor.
Yeah.
But it was a lot easier to kind of go, hi, can you send me 20 grand?
I think the thing is, so to interrupt you there, the thing is, as human beings, we do business with people we know, like, and trust. And if you're looking to raise money, it's much easier to go to somebody that already knows you, hopefully likes you, and probably trusts you, than it is to start from zero.
Yeah, family, friends is like the place to start, like, absolutely. And people don't realize how many people close to them have money or are willing to invest in them. I've had, like, my friend's mother-in-law invest 50 grand in me just before COVID. And I was like, what is your mother-in-law doing sending me 50 grand? But okay, let's roll with it. Yeah. So I started my podcast kind of just before this, like property. I was, documenting my journey back when less people were doing it.
Yes.
More people are doing it now, but also the quality has improved, not as much as it should have, like in other businesses. So I'd kept up my brand through this whole process, showed them the first deal, showed them the ins, the outs, all the numbers. It's in my book, nothing is hidden. And I kept doing that. And I just started asking, so my second deal was an interesting one. It was funded using the first deal. So the first deal we purchased unencumbered.
Okay.
We then did a cross bridge, whatever you want to call it, dual asset kind of loan, which meant I basically got 100% loan to value for the second property, and I got another 11 grand for the refurb.
Right.
So all covered from that property. Obviously, not everyone can do that. Not everyone has an unencumbered property, and my investor had their permission to do that.
Yes.
You don't do that unless you have their permission.
Yeah.
And once I did that, for the third property, Instagram story, I said, I'm looking for £54,000 for a deal. It's an earn and learn. So even though I was still new, I was like, come visit the property, I'll tell you everything. Literally, X number of messages, these two guys, one was a plumber, one was an electrician, I think.
Okay.
Just messaged me and said, can we chat?
Mm-hmm.
We spoke, I think, about 2 weeks later for some reason. 8-minute phone call. So I was in a car park, and I remember the 8-minute phone call. Within 2 days, £57,000, because I ended up needing more, was in my account, contract signed, done, and we bought the deal. And genuinely, that's the simplest, and that's what happened.
Yes.
Because of the brand.
Yes.
Nothing
So I was going to ask you there, you had the foresight to not only start a podcast to share the journey, which many people, let's say some people do.
Yeah.
Which is a very smart thing to do. But then also to build a brand at the same time, which is how I first came across you. I was like, this guy is clearly switched on, understands marketing. What was the thinking behind that?
So you know what? The original thinking was, you know, I mentioned earlier, I listened to podcasts, I read some books. I couldn't find the answers to my questions. I couldn't find somewhere where the host was genuinely asking the questions, one, because they don't know them, which is great, or two, because they're just a good host. A lot of it was, explain stamp duty relief, one-line answer, but the rest, sign up. You know, it was very much which I get it, it's fine, it's lead gen, it's a funnel, but the world has changed and is changing to like giving 90% for free, and then the kind of 𝗵𝗲𝗁 model. And I just thought, well, how do I get my answers? If you can't find it, you create it, you make it. And I thought, all right, I'll network with people, I'll get to sit one-on-one with them, we'll have relationships afterwards, which we did, you got the help, etc., etc. And so I started it out of a genuine curiosity and need for answers and to educate people. I also then looked at other property investors and said, your brands are really shit. Like, I think just with the podcast, I can help you elevate your brand. So I thought, I'm doing two things here, and I'm also benefiting from it. And it was pretty easy. You know, back then it was just audio, you know, so it was literally good mics and you crack on.
Yes.
And yeah, it kind of went since, it sort of continued since then. And I also realized that people follow me, people are influenced by me, people know, like, and trust me, some of them. Surely there could now be a bigger value exchange. And that then led to raising just under £1 million from Instagram, from Facebook, from LinkedIn.
Yes. So the social media, the presence, the sharing the journey, that enabled you to then start raising the money to keep buying more property. So with 9 months, at that point, did you make a decision, right, that's it? Or was it a case of, okay, I just need to take a breather? Or what was it happened at that point?
I have a feeling it was COVID. Okay. I have a feeling COVID lined up with it somehow. From the 1st to the 15th, it was, because I remember I bought the 15th with my friend's mother-in-law's investor money, like the sort of, it was in something to do with COVID. So I remember buying, and then I was like exchanging on this, completing on this, and it kind of happened. I'm terrible with dates. And so at that point I thought, well, how am I going to do a refurb? How am I going to pay them back? It was kind of, I think we all had that kind of period of what next? And so, but I think it was good because it allowed me to take a deep breath and say, okay, what's unfinished? I forgot I had a property at one point. I was like, shit, Panel Street. I was like, hey, can you go check it out? And she was like, the builders haven't been in 3 weeks. And I was like, because I forgot I even owned it because there was too much going on. And that's the one I lost like $6,500 on. Okay. And for me, COVID allowed me to stop, take a break, consolidate, remortgages. People think, oh, you buy a property, you do it, we'll get a remo. Some of mine have taken 3 or 4 months because of property value, because of COVID, because of stress, because of all these, we lend to landlords. But if you're a portfolio landlord, we don't like you. So I've got to have 1 to 3 properties then. Yes, we love landlords. Like, so many things like go wrong and happen that it always takes longer than you think. So COVID allowed me to stop, forced me to stop, but also meant that I could consolidate it all and take a break that I probably needed and write my book.
And then in terms of doing bigger stuff we were talking about earlier on and before recording, often people just jump or want to jump to the biggest deals where the most zeros are on the end. So why not take that next step and kind of go in that direction?
Yeah, good question. It's one that I get asked, it's one I've spoken about, and it's one that I've had the internal discussion with myself of. And I did look at land deals near me, I did look at some conversions. I want, and on a graph, I want the path of least resistance to the most result.
Yes.
And I know that a development is most resistant, most result.
Yes.
It's not least resistant. And what I want is kind of the ideal perfect, which is hard to find. But I realized that me working with a planning department, I would go in with a Molotov cocktail and light the place up. I would. Like, me and planners would be in beef because I cannot work with them. And having to deal with the timescales you have to deal with, I just know, and on your podcast we discussed those 3 factors, I know that I'm not interested in those timeframes, in that risk. Yes, it makes more money, but I have a cleaning business. I'd rather grow that to be at that level than to do at that level because I know it does not work with me. It does not suit me. I also, lost interest, not lost interest in property, but lost interest in doing it the same way I did it. So I would happily grow quickly again. I would happily buy at that scale, but it's outsourced, you know, auction, direct to vendor, deal sources, my legals, they can get done. You know, the builder get done by my guy Craig. You know, it's everyone takes a chunk of my profit.
Yes.
But I get a chunk of my life back.
Yeah.
So
the properties you've done, were they kind of a templated model almost, like were they very similar? So they kind of just churn out the same?
They were, but I made my life more difficult because every bathroom, every kitchen, every interior design was different. Because that was my passion. I love the creativity, the design, the kind of things you can put into it. So, you know, I should have done a cookie cutter, like most developers do, but I just loved it so much. So all my properties are different. They all look swaggy in some kind of shape or form. I did flips as well, which changed. I did like a legal issues paper exercise, flying freehold flip in Cambridgeshire near me. So yeah, they were cookie cutter on paper.
Okay. And the one you mentioned, you lost some money on one. Was that just one, or was there others that... did the others kind of all run smoothly? Was it a smooth journey, or was it... and the one kind of was, well, you know, we've lost some money on one.
It was as smooth as 20 grit sandpaper. So all the builders can recognize you're sanding your face off with that one. Compared to that one, they were all smooth in the sense that we didn't lose money. I pulled out all, if not most of my money. Great tenants, always paid to this day on time, not really had a wrecked house, not had any kind of major issues. Yeah, I've had some down vals and we left in more money, but over time, it was fine. You know, my flip in Cambridgeshire, I think the profit was about 65 grand.
Okay.
The Project Fire I did in Wales was 35 grand, I think it was profit. So generally things have ended up being well.
Yes.
But the actual process of doing it, being in it, having to deal with 4 or 5 different things was chaos. And that one went wrong because I forgot I had it. So we lost 3 weeks. So I paid my interest over 3 weeks. It was just, you know, builder taking a picture of that wall and me saying, oh, that looks nice. But that wall, and that wall weren't done. And the doofus I was like, cool, you know. And so like all these things I've learned and I distill into these conversations and how I operate now. But things like that over and over. And I think also on that side, I tried to be cheap. I was like, oh, don't worry about chasing the pipes. And then, of course, everyone came in and said, why is there a pipe there? You know, kids, mummy, why is there a pipe there? I'm like, you know, I was trying to get a premium high-end product without doing... Where now, my builders don't even ask me. Everything's chased. Everything is, you know... There's just a certain standard I did not have, but I wanted the... You know, I was trying to sell a Nissan for Lamborghini money. And like, I'm not getting that.
But there's a learning to go through, and you've gone through that learning there. And in terms of the brand then and the branding that you've been doing, has that evolved as the journey's kind of progressed? And because now I know you're kind of involved in business, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but has the branding kind of evolved as well, or you've kind of you made that decision early and that's what you stuck with?
It's definitely evolved. It has to, right? The algorithm, people's tastes, trends, you know, it evolves and moves so much. And just like you with your businesses, you have to evolve or die. It's simple, it's evolution. And so, you know, whether it's the quality getting better, whether it's different cameras, different audio, different hooks, different intros, different editing, the kinds of things I'm talking about, it's always evolving based on, I think this is a bit unfortunate, but based on what the audience want. You know, it used to be a time where you'd create what kind of you wanted, you were passionate about, you were this, and you'd have your following. Now, because of the money you can make from it and the way it is and addicted to the dopamine, we almost, I think we're all guilty of it, create content for you lot.
Yes.
And it's like, who am I? Just a slave to what you want and what you want to see? And so it has evolved, but I do think about it kind of philosophically sometimes, like, you know, what is this about? But it makes money. You know, it trickles down to other things. It gets deals and it gets investors. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, and it always will be, because they want you to be on the platforms, they want you to be addicted, they want you to see negative, they want a sense of the truth, right? As we've both seen. And they want to, you know, promote things that are just not true and things that are evil and promote their agenda. And so it's a very tough place to be on, especially in recent times, because of how it's controlled. So it has evolved, but I don't know, if it didn't make me money, would I still be on it as heavily? I don't know.
And do you think these days it's a critical part? Is it something it's a must-have for people in a property space, or
yeah,
nice to have?
I think people come to me, right, when they want to learn how to raise finance, or they're one of my mentees, and I say, so part of me and what I do is you're going to be on social media, and they say, bit of whinging, oh, I don't really want to, I don't like this, I don't like that. I don't
Can I do it without being on camera?
Yes. I say, yeah, okay, go for it. And in a year when you raise 10 quid from your auntie, let me know how you bought with that. I just say to people, look, like, I don't really care what you don't like. I don't like having to listen to people waste my time and see people faking on social media, but I do. Like, I don't like doing admin, but I have to do it sometimes. We do things we don't like to get what we want to love. And so, if you have a family who are rich, if you got a little black book with all the rich people in, stay off social, don't bother. But like most people, you don't, and you need to raise money and awareness and want people to bring you deals. And, separately from property, if you have a food business, if you have a business where you sell tripods, you sell sofas, how are any of us going to know you do that and see your products and understand your business and fall in love with your business without your brand? Yes. So I think it's a must-have in almost every business.
And someone watching now or listening to this thinking, maybe they're getting started early on their journey thinking, how do I create a brand? What is different, unique about me? Where would they start? What would they be thinking about?
So you have to look in the mirror. Like, what is different about you? I know genetically we're 99.9% similar, but there is, the percent that is different is massive. There's so much between us that is different as people, how we speak, where we're from, how we dress, everything is different. And so for me, that's the easiest unique factor about you. There's only one you, right? And so I think you have to, if it's a personal brand, which it is in property most times, you have to, I suppose, understand you, what you're like, how you're like with people, how you like to communicate, what values are important to you, what you share, what you don't want to share. So you as a person will create the brand. So for example, you and I could both be looking at an auction live, and we're both separately, same auction on Instagram. You could say, hi everyone, looking at this auction here, and you can see the property here has gone slightly over budget. We're not really happy. We're not going to bid. I would say, oi, you lot, see this auction? Flipping idiots. I can't believe it's gone up. Who's bidding this much? Ridiculous behavior, right?
Yes.
50% are going to love me. 50% are going to love you. The rest are going to hate us equally.
Yes.
So the brand comes from you and who you are. If it's a company brand, then it's a whole exercise about, okay, well, what's our vision? What's our values? What kind of colors do we associate with? What are we going for? Luxury? We're going for sexy? Going for fun? Like, who are we? Whereas when you're a person, I think you kind of want to think about that a little bit less. Because if you're like, yeah, I want a sexy brand, but you're not sexy, how's that going to work, If you want a luxury brand, but you like walking around in trackies and being casual, you probably can make that work nowadays, but how are you going to make that work? So it starts with you. It starts with you as a person.
And somebody that's maybe already in property and thinking, okay, I really need to be more impactful on social. Where do you think they should start? There's so many platforms, and what would be the starting point?
It's a tough one because everything works. Some things require a bit more work. I think, depending on their existing network and the type of people they're trying to attract, I'm very tempted to say Instagram or LinkedIn. Now, Facebook can be super powerful. I also think Facebook is, even though it's owned by, Meta, Instagram, it's not very progressive. I feel like Facebook has a lot of communities, a lot of people who are just a bit stuck in the 80s, and I'm sure you've seen this in many different factors, whereas Instagram feels a lot more progressive and modern, right? So depending on your views, you can decide. LinkedIn is great because if you want to find the VP at JP Morgan, you can find them. If you want to find them, you can find them. If you want to target business owners who earn 100 grand or more in Southeast England, but you can find them. So you can kind of tailor your brand and your message, but also it's a more professional platform. So if you're more of a corporate person, maybe that suits you more.
Yeah.
I like Instagram as a technical platform because it has so many features. Facebook's in it, LinkedIn's in it, TikTok's in it. It's like the platform, and I think this is why it's so popular, which has all of them in one. Images, text, video, whatever. It's got threads now. So if I was going to pick one, I'd say Instagram. Two, I'd probably say Instagram and LinkedIn.
And do you think it's important to be present on all platforms, or do you think really you should pick the one that suits you best? For example, talking about Instagram, say, right, I'm just going all in on that one.
It depends on how much time you have. My natural thing is to say you should be as omnipresent as you can be, because you get forgotten easily. People have short attention spans. People, you kind of want to be everywhere. I want to be like, oh, 𝗵𝗃 𝗏𝗏 there, I want to see you everywhere. And also with things like 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Hootsuite, these bits of software, you can post on LinkedIn, Instagram. Most of the time, you can put the same content on both. And so it's like, well, just pay $30 a month, use the software, or spend 2 minutes and just post on both for the sake of, attracting more people, building a bigger brand. And I don't know, let's say you have an investor who wants to give you 3 million. I mean, they're on Instagram as well, but they could be some corporate person who's on LinkedIn. And if you're not there, you're potentially going to miss out. And some people see LinkedIn as a CV or their website. So I might find you on Instagram and say, cool, he's on Instagram, that's fine. But, I put more sort of value on LinkedIn. It's more professional. And even if you just have a profile, right, that's roughly present, I think it almost gives that tick of like, they're a real person, they're on 2 platforms, on a professional platform. It could all be fake, it could all be lies, but our mind positions it like that.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to be visible on all the platforms, even if you're not that active on them and posting occasionally or a little bit, because they can give you a lot of SEO juice as well, just when people are searching for you. Think about if someone's Googling your name, what do they find? And the reality is we can control that. You can control what people see. And the social media platforms, some of them will dominate that first section of Google anyway. So if you're present and visible on those, that will help. And in consistent style, in branding, in terms of your appearance across these platforms, it all reinforces your message, as you said. And sometimes people want to see you on different platforms rather than, as you mentioned, just on the one platform. I think it's also important to think about what's the outcome we're trying to achieve. What's the goal on being on social media? So we were talking about this before, like for us, it's people invest with us, people might want to learn with us, people bring us deals, and probably it's very similar for you as well. And so people can get to see you, they get to know, like, and trust you on these platforms. So being aware of that means that you can think about what might be the right platform for you. So podcasts, you've been running a podcast for some time as well. Do you see that as part of social media or a different stem of marketing or?
It has to be part of social media. The unfortunate thing about podcasts, and they really haven't evolved over the years. I don't know why. Maybe people in the industry are trying to keep it pure, but it is a one-way platform. You're listening to me. You can't comment. You can't like. There's no engagement. You have to go find me somewhere else.
Yes. And this is the audio one specifically we're talking
about. So specifically like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. You can leave reviews, which is great, but it's not the kind of connective experience that it could be for. I don't know why, because it very easily could be. Maybe it's in the work, I don't know. It's been long enough. And so what that means is it's a lot harder to grow a podcast, because I can't just have a podcast and expect it to grow. I need a YouTube channel with it. I need an Instagram to push people to it. I need LinkedIn to push people. Because if you just have a podcast, someone might type in property and we come up. Maybe, hopefully. But you can't just rely on search engine. You need like people being like, that's really interesting. I saw that, 30-second clip from Sergeant Ted. I want to go listen to the full thing. I want to go see that. Without that, they just got a title, us talking about something, a little description, and you're trying to get them to commit an hour. It's very hard to grow. And I've just passed 1 million downloads on the podcast.
Fantastic.
Yeah, which has taken, it should be 1 million a month, but, it's taken a long slog, and it's my own inconsistencies that have made it go slower. But like getting 1 million downloads on a podcast is a lot harder than, 1 million views on something.
Yes.
By the very nature of it. So
because they're having to do more in order to consume that content.
And they can't see you. Now, good or bad, they can't see the whites of your eyes. They can't see how you come across. So I think sometimes it's less of a connection, but I think the quantity of it builds it up. Like I had someone come to me at the gym the other day and say, oh, hi, Tej, I'm the one who messaged you. Oh, hi, blah, blah. He goes, you don't know me at all, but I feel like I know everything about you.
Right.
And I always hear that. And I love it because, okay, I can get to know you now, which is great, but it also means that it's doing its job.
Yes.
You've had the 7 steps as the touch points for a sale. You're ready to invest in me. You're ready to buy. You're ready to talk serious.
Yes.
You know me. You know how I operate. And if you've come up to me, that means we're aligned somewhat.
Yes.
Because if you didn't like me, you'd be like, yeah, I've heard hours of him. Not for me.
Yes. Yeah.
It filters people out.
And it reminds me of this thing about years ago, it was a case of it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think now it's more a case of who already knows you.
Like
knows of
already
you.
knows you. Yeah.
So if your name has already been is in someone's awareness, that makes it much easier to open a door somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And you said the small talk as well. Like, you know, you kind of go straight into, I heard you're working on this. What are you doing?
Yes.
And I love that. I don't want the small talk.
Because they've got to, as you said, they've got to know you and learn and understand a little bit about you. And they've already made the decision whether they like you or not at that point in the content. So let's talk about the business, because now you're spending more time on building businesses. You've got a company, a cleaning company that you purchased recently. And my understanding is that's making you very good money, more than the property portfolio on that one deal. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I opened with this at a speaking event like a few months ago, and people were like, what? Absolutely shocked. So, you know, my property portfolio, 15 in 9 months, cool. Took a year and a half to get them all finished, remortgage, whatever. I had to raise 800 grand, I think, at sort of that point for all of these purchases. Blood, sweat, tears, traveling, cold, you know, wet socks. It just was not nice, right? Eating Subway sandwiches. I don't know what it is. Subway in Wales, they put no masala in. It's like, it's like even blander, right? It was just hell. All of that for some income. Cool, great. I've got an asset that goes up in value. You know, I can't argue that. I then bought a cleaning business, which the net profit is about 50 plus grand a year.
Okay.
I bought it for 50 grand. So if any of you are in M&A, you know that's a very cheeky deal. Yeah. Normally it's 2 to 3 times a multiple. I put
basically 1 year's profit effectively.
1 year's profit effectively, yeah. I then put in 50% upfront, which is the max you want to put in M&A ideally, especially at this level. But I was like, it's so small, I don't care.
Yes.
Was that my own money? Of course it wasn't. And the rest of the 50%, but to pay the seller back over the next, you know, year or so, is that my money? No, it's his money, because it comes from the profits of the business.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I make less profit for a year or two, but I can hold on. I'm good for this time. And so I looked back at this and thought, all right, so I spent 6 months on it. When I say I spent 6 months, it wasn't like 6 months on a refurb. It was like, solicitors, hurry up, seller, get your shit together. It was very, you know, here and there. And yes, it's a business, it's not an asset. It moves, it has moving parts, clients quit, clients join. But I just, you know, almost equaled property portfolio income in one deal that I only needed 30 grand for up front. That wasn't even my own money.
Yes.
In one flipping deal. Like, I just thought, what have I done with my life for 3 years? But very different things. You know, property has so many benefits. I can't kind of fault it. But I looked at that and this is a small deal. I'm in a group of people who are doing deals that are 7-8 million profit, millions of pounds of turnover. So in what I see, this is a small deal, but the way it was structured, insane. And I'm buying another business now, which is also on a very similar structure. It comes with an asset, which just means it's even more risk mitigated. That's 400 grand's worth of turnover. So in 2 businesses, I've added 600 grand worth of turnover to my personal, you know, whatever, turnover income, plus renting a flat from 2 businesses. And again, this one is how much up front? 20 grand, something like that.
Okay.
And is it going to be my money? No. So, you know, you look at this, even now I'm just like, the maths is so strong. It just makes sense for me to switch into something that I was going to do anyway. I was going to start other businesses, so I might as well buy them. If I can pay you for your 10,000 hours, for your 6 years of hell, and you're, you know, let's do it.
And that's a really interesting point, because sometimes people struggle to get their head round. And like we were talking about earlier about property, why is it so cheap?
Yeah.
Why isn't somebody else bought it? Often the circumstances we don't understand. We don't take the time to understand what's driving the seller to accept this right now, because what they want in exchange for that is more important than money.
Yes.
Maybe it's the freedom, be able to move from that, do something else, whatever it might be, that's going to trigger for them. It's going to make a massive difference. And in business, it'll be exactly the same thing, where there'll be some motivation with that seller right now, where they want to move on to something else, or something needs to change in their life. And you can facilitate that on your financial terms, in terms of how that's going to work. And for you, as you said, when you start a business, it's blood, sweat and tears, property business or any other business.
Hell, yeah.
And if you walk into an operating one and you take the keys on, it's like when we sell HMOs, we occasionally sell some HMOs that we'll renovate and sell. And we've done the work, and what we're doing, we're profiting from that now. You're getting a ready-made property that's just generate that income.
Boom.
In the same way, someone's done the work, but you're paying a very small amount to take it on. In fact, like from a motivated seller.
Yeah, and I think it's not always a small amount. Usually it's 2 to 3 times EBIT.
In comparison to what you're getting back.
I mean, in comparison to property with how much money you need, there's a vast difference. You can get borrowing in M&A, you can, but it's is not as easy as a mortgage. So there's always pros and cons. People say, which one should I start with? Which one should I? And it really depends on you and your background and your experience, for sure.
And in terms of your approach to buying businesses, has it been similar to a property? Let's find something anywhere in the country and just go, or was there a slightly different approach?
I look closer to home, because I want to be able, like for the cleaning business, I visit clients once a month to do an audit. So and it's in Northamptonshire, and I'm bringing it into Hertfordshire where I'm based. So it's just a lot easier, to kind of bring it closer to home. But Northamptonshire is not too far away, and so I'm specifically and purposely looking, within regions around me, especially if it's a business with an office. The food business is in Buckinghamshire, which is, again, just next to Hertfordshire, and it's based in that area, and they also got a food truck, so it's kind of also all over the country. But what I was looking for was businesses that are motivated. So not just, give me a value, Tej, and if it's good, we'll sell. I want to, look, mate, I'm out, but and also understanding why. In property, when there's an agent, you can never really get to the full reason. But I'm seeing one-on-one with the seller, and I'm saying, look, what are you going to do after this? What are you going to do with this money? What are you going to... Because if they say, I'm going to start up a same business, I'm going to say, no, you're not. It's in the contract. You're going to be sued. Or if they say, I've got a kid who needs... I need to know there's a reason you're going to stick with this transaction. And so I send out thousands of emails. I mean, thousands, past 7,000. Wow. They're still being sent out. I have hundreds of conversations. We have tens of offers, and then we have ones that get accepted. A lot of them don't go anywhere, like with property. So it's similar in the sense that numbers game, but there's no right move for businesses. There is, but it's rubbish. A lot of it is direct to vendor. I've definitely spent thousands of pounds to find these businesses, similar to a direct-to-vendor campaign in property.
We do a lot of direct-to-vendor marketing, and we love that when it comes to property. And just as you said, we'd rather sit down with the seller, look into the whites of their eyes, understand what's going on. How do we find a solution for them to move on? It gives them what they want. We make great money out of that deal as well.
100%, yeah.
And as you said, it's transferring that skill into a slightly different environment. So we've been looking at some business stuff and business acquisition, but everything related very closely to what we're already doing. We already run, for example, we run rental agencies and stuff, and so we're looking at what can bolt into. We've already got maintenance companies. So my interest is businesses that can support and connect to each other. So it seems like you've got stuff that's different. So is the approach where the opportunity is, or is there some kind of connection between the various businesses? Can they support each other in any way?
The cleaning business can support the food business, but not in a real in the sense that we can clean for the, but not in a synergistic kind of way. And none of them really support the property business. However, my property business, my contacts have got me clients for cleaning. We clean for one of Hertfordshire's biggest letting agents. That's come from my relationship. And people always, can you do my essay? No, because essay or prayer, you lot are hard work. You want everything. You want the cleaner to drill in things and do it. I'm like, no.
I think just picking up on that, we talk about cleaners in essays. Really, they are housekeepers.
The housekeepers'
skill.
And it's so hard to find them that I would consider it for some people. You're going to get charged a premium though, because we're premium. But it just brought me opportunities through my network. But the cleaning business and the food business are not synergistic. The cleaning business is not a passion. I do like things being clean, but it was just a great business, great opportunity, made sense, scalable business. My builder, who's also a friend, used to run one of the UK's largest cleaning businesses. So, and he runs a cleaning business now for his essays. So, there's also the thing where I call him, we can get things done. The food business, I was always going to start a food business. Love food, super passionate about cooking and eating. And so that's just something I love. And I really am going to scale that, probably to sell it at some point where the cleaning business is to keep. It was passion. It was, I flipping love this. We can create an incredible brand. The social media is going to be off. It's just going to be amazing. And I'm excited about it. Whereas the cleaning business, I'm not excited about it. I'm excited about the growth and the business, but not the item of business.
It's the business that drives you, the excitement and the passion about business.
The business, exactly.
So what's next then? What's next in the path of Tejo in the coming years?
So, for this year, I'm focusing heavily on my education and mentorship in property, M&A, business.
So this is you learning or
teaching?
Teaching.
Okay. I've done it for like a year or two now. But I've just sort of collated everything and made an incredible scheme for this year to kind of push it out again. I am also then, growing the cleaning business. Okay. Once the food business completes in 2 weeks, I'm going to be, growing that massively. So I've kind of moved into M&A. I've got the 2 businesses. So for this year, the focus is purely on growing them. Okay. I've stopped my outreach for M&A. Yeah. Towards the end of the year, I'm going to restart it, but at a much higher level. Okay. We're talking potentially $500,000 EBIT net profit a year companies. Okay. So I can buy and they can just sit there as an asset company. Yes. What I mean by that is almost like a property portfolio. Yeah, they can hear no evil, see no evil. Full management, everything. I'm not involved as such. I'll just make key decisions. But later in the year. So this year is food business, cleaning business growing massively, mentoring education, continuing with life, health, fitness, traveling. I think I've got 5 or 6 holidays, trips booked in, probably more. Just living life, I think as entrepreneurs, and I've had like mini retirements kind of in the past few years, we just get too hooked up on this hedonistic treadmill of, okay, well, now I'm business class, let me go first. Now I'm turning over 10K a month, let me do 15. And it's like, what? So when you're 90 on your deathbed, you're going to say, oh, I've reached 60K a month, I'll stop. It's like, no, I'm going to stop when I want. I'm going to chill when I want. I'm going to, if I need to go abroad for a week because I want to, I'm gone. Don't put meetings in my diary, I'm gone. Because life's too short. I want to be with people I love and have fun and explore the world and just live. I'm living for a living.
Yeah, it's so important to enjoy the journey and not just the destination. I think many of us in life can get focused and obsessed about one thing to try and reach the end point and forget actually it's not about the end point, it's about getting there as well. It's all part of the process as well.
Love the process, right?
Yeah. Tej, this is such a fascinating conversation. I love these conversations with you. Huge amount of learning and inspiration as well. So it's a pleasure having you on. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Tej.talks on Instagram and Tej.talks on Spotify, YouTube. Type into Google. It should all just be yellow and it should be me.
Excellent. Great branding.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tej.